Yes, it's shared already.
Hello,
Good
Faraj.
morning, everyone. Hello, how are you, Christine?
I
And I
feel very
believe that
energized.
that's great. So today it's the pleasure of having you, Christine, your master certified coach with the past career in multinational companies. I believe that it has been an amazing journey with you, and this is our third episode. And actually, it's for me. I was really. Very motivated when you talked the last two times about the emotional intelligence, about the stress and how to deal with it.
Hmm.
And now we are talking about a new aspect of emotional intelligence, and you wanted to navigate VUCA. So can
Yes.
you tell me, Christine, can we clarify a little bit what VUCA is, please? And just
Yeah, for sure.
navigating
So,
VUCA and what is the relationship with emotional intelligence? Yes.
for
Mm.
sure, Faraj. Thanks for inviting me. So, I'd like to start with first with a rhetoric question. Okay, is there any difference between VUCA and what we call unprecedented times? What I guess is that, well, obviously, well, VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Okay, and if you think about the past year and a half, I guess that's the perfect example of a VUCA situation. For instance, let's talk about let for instance, the economic threats, the lockdowns, the health threats, all of these are completely volatile and uncertain factors. But not only this, let's also consider the complexity and the ambiguity that comes together with that. Many more call and video conferences, new ways of working, therefore longer working hours, and a disrupted family life. If you add to these the business complexity that is generated by the crisis of material of this very moment, I guess that here we have all the ingredients of a big VUCA pot.
Okay, so how do you think, with this complexity, the last time we were talking
Hmm.
about stress,
Yeah.
and actually with all these, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity,
Hmm.
in a way it causes a lot of pressure around for leaders,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
having
Sure.
5 year strategic plan, having a vision, having a mission, this kind
Mm.
of right title, and having something coming
Mm.
in like posing, all you have done and all you have planned is just be put on the shelf now, and
Yeah.
you need to rethink again what's happening. So can you tell
Hmm.
me how emotional intelligence here fits?
Okay. Well, for sure, let's say that in normal conditions, we might need some stimulus to leave our comfort zone. But obviously, let's say with the current situation, I mean, the stimulus is there and all around us. And what happens in presence of threats? Our brain looks for quick solutions and put us into a fighting mode. So that surely helps us, okay, to face the events and to face, let's say, and exit our comfort zone. Another thing is, usually there's a trigger, a special event that pushes us to a quick reaction. And being quick doesn't mean that we take intentional decisions. So therefore, that might not be perfect. So that's I would say one of the things that we need to consider. But
So
there might be. Mhm.
so now you're talking about the leaving of the comfort zone. It's about
Yeah.
going out of the comfort zone. It's being out there.
Yeah, for sure, because how we were used to have and to live our lives in a certain way. With the COVID-19, we had first to, instead of getting out of the home, staying in home, reorganized many things. Leaders had to find new ways of leading people, trusting people that people would work from their home. But on the other hand, people were and are still facing difficulties at home, like do I have the right space to have my own office in my house? How do I handle the kids at home? Things like this. So in reality, for sure, we have been totally pushed out of our comfort zone. So it means that we got to get adapted to it. But you know,
So
there's the
any tips for that? It's actually, yani, I'm just thinking out, getting out of the comfort zone. What does it, for a 20th century leader, like somebody who's coming in from the past, and
from the
actually
past.
used to get used, not the past, it's still the present. Until now we have still this mindset,
Yep.
having this aggressive planning and this, like field marshal growth mindset, with a clear strategy direction,
Mm.
and actually being challenged with such. I saw many businessmen who were devastated. Many
Yeah.
businessmen left their business, and it was not about leaving. They didn't think it's an opportunity to leave your comfort zone. They thought that
Hmm.
out of their comfort zone they are dead.
Okay. Okay. And you know, I guess that the first thing really is to get tactical. Get tactical and see the opportunity behind the threat. Let me share my own reaction to the lockdown. Okay, the first lockdown, I really felt the risk, also myself, to lose my own business and workshop. So I felt a mix of danger, anxiety, but also excitement, energy, And I thought, well, how to avoid a complete disaster here? I understood that I needed to adapt very fast to these new conditions, and therefore I decided to do something that I had never done before. Propose new digital-based content to my clients. Most of them accepted it and were satisfied. Some others refused, okay, because they wanted to stay in the old way of doing things. But
Mm,
sure, it has required on my side quite a lot of big work, efforts, but also some stress, to be honest. Okay, but honestly, it was worth it because I had a plan, I had a goal, I knew that I could achieve it. Okay, and all of this has helped me a lot. So, have you seen some people around you turning this situation to their advantage, Sharaf?
mm. Okay. So can you tell me more about it? Like what are the tactics? What if we want to have a leader who is already
Mm-hmm,
bombarded by a VUCA situation, his plans are not working anymore. The environment has changed. The inputs, that everything in the strategic plan
mm-hmm,
has been gone obsolete, and
mm-hmm.
so what are the
What to do?
the what where do we start? Being getting tactical.
Well,
Yeah, give me a
absolutely.
place to start here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Okay. So obviously, that's not the absolute recipe. Okay. This is
yeah.
something that I've also learned on myself that I've seen also some other people experiencing. Um, I guess that the first thing is to acknowledge what the situation is. So stop thinking about the good old times, but just say to yourself, okay, this is the context. Those are the conditions. How can I make the most of those conditions? Okay, how can I get adapted to those? So I need to operate the business differently. Does it mean that there are going to be some new business opportunity niches? Okay, what can I do with that, what I currently have? Or what are the things where I can, with a small investment, make a step? So I would say that's the first thing. The second thing is, well, take the opportunity to grow new skills and get your organization as well growing new skills. Coming back to my own story here, because of those new conditions, I really felt the urge of becoming more digital and learning how to use new tools, redesigning contents to make them more efficient and enjoyable. So the learning curve obviously got its ups and downs. Okay, sometimes some fear because sometimes I was really wondering, well, will I be able to do that? I remember very much how much scared I was when I had to deliver the first webinar being online. That was my very first time. And I also felt some frustration, and also some loneliness. But, let me tell you about a good one here. I also took the opportunity to work more on my coaching skills. And therefore, I reached the MCC level, so meaning the highest level of certification on ICF. So, that has been as well another way to look at it. So if I think about leaders now, what I could say is that, okay, try to think about what are the competencies that this very period is requiring. Okay, and get people working on those. There are a lot of free webinars online at the moment. Okay, help people to choose them, channel their energy towards becoming better, finding tools, ways to adapt faster and in an easier way to the situation. But there's also another thing, and I would say that would be my third tip here. That other thing is
Actually, I can tell here something, before moving to the next point, because actually, you mentioned two things that are actually needs. They need internally a lot of awareness, and it needs a big pause and a good reflection to come up with the, so for the first one, which is stop thinking of the old times. This is the
yeah,
context, and putting,
yeah,
this and these are the conditions. It needs to relook or rethink everything.
yeah,
It's an exhaustive exercise. I believe that it takes time, it takes energy, it takes,
mm,
and it is already a part of a big distress actually, to think in
sure.
this agility, to disconnect yourself
Mm.
completely of the old context and the old story of the organization, and reconnect with a new one.
Um, mhm. But not
Yeah,
only, not only, may
not
I?
only, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
not only, because in reality it gives you hope.
Mm,
Because when you start acting, okay, instead of sabotaging a situation, suddenly, therefore, you see a potential solution. You see the light at the end of the tunnel. And
wow.
because of this, okay, that compensates partly the stress that you're in. You
Mm-hmm,
see an opportunity, you see the fact that, okay, if you do A, B, and C, you might
mm-hmm.
save your business, or you might engage in a new and different kind of opportunity of business. Therefore, you have partly a solution. So
Wow.
then you become far more constructive. You think about, okay, how do I move ahead? So yes, there's stress, to your point. Okay, but
Wow.
there's also a lot about seeing the light. Seeing an opportunity, being able not to sabotage. To that kind of context.
Yeah, and actually, the second point, which is related to growing new skills and actually selecting, what are the required skills for this period.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whenever there is a new period, everybody goes everywhere, where like headless chicken, trying to figure it out. Especially
Yeah, yeah.
there are always pioneers in learning, and there are some, what they call it, more attractive tracks
Mm-hmm.
to study,
Yeah.
that sometimes like people go to it, like in groups and tribes, like it recruits voices, like everybody's going digital, so everybody will learn about the digital. So
Mm-hmm.
that's through the COVID. However, there were some skills that some people actually didn't attend to. However, it's there is the current now skills, yani it's something, and
Mm-hmm.
others that are strategic for a longer term, to integrate these new digital skills with what we are doing in the context
Yes.
of our business and this stuff.
Yeah.
So how can a process to take a decision on learning new skills be more smarter, or be related, be
Well,
connected? Mm,
learning new skills. At the end, you say, okay, given this set of conditions within the context, okay,
yeah.
if I want to reach that kind of objective, what is needed? What do
Mm,
I need to be able to do?
mm,
Who do I need to involve? What are the skills that I have already and I can leverage on? Because very
okay.
often, we forget. It's not going back to the past, but we need to also, grant ourselves with the fact that we have skills. So how
Yes.
do we make the most of those skills? It's not that we are lost. I mean, we have a big backpack behind us. Okay, so let's use that one. Okay, let's see
Wow.
what we have in our toolbox. And just look at, okay, what is missing and how you
Mm,
can get it fast.
wow. Okay, so we have these two skill set, two steps. What else? What is the third step for you?
The third step, I was thinking about one each at a time. Why that? Because when you are in the middle of the volcano or will, what happens is that you have the sensation that there are so many different kind of elements around you, so many disturbances that you feel like I'm not going to be able to make it. This is simply too big for me. Okay. So one of the things I found very useful, okay, it's this 1 inch at a time, meaning take a stop to acknowledge and celebrate each small step that you're making and where you are successful. And even if it's just a small step towards the goal that you have, towards the light at the end of the tunnel, okay, celebrate it, acknowledge it. You know that while logical and rational people tend to, usually they do this, just putting a tick back on the to-do list and move to the next one. You know what happens with that? Is that people do not get the satisfaction of their accomplishments and of their achievements. And when they do not get that, they are just left with the stress of what has to be done still.
Hey.
Okay, so really here.
That's very interesting, you know. Because if I see lots of leaders who did lots of good things, and actually they still are asking for what's missing.
Sure. So let's start by celebrating what we have. Let's start by being grateful for what we still have. You know, that many aspects of our lives that haven't been touched. Okay, so we need to use some optimism, but as well being able to be grateful for what we have, because thanks to this, we don't feel lost. Okay, thanks to this, we say, okay, yes, there's a disaster around us, but I'm still there, still alive, still have some significant relationships, you know. So that's also something very important. You know, there's a vastity of emotions that are really linked to the situation, you know. And I'd like to share with you the Plutchik model. Okay, the Plutchik model is a kind of a flower of emotions. You might have that eventually to show us.
Yeah.
Okay. You see here we have some petals that are in opposition. Okay. So you see the red petal towards anger. It's exactly the opposite of the one of fear. Okay. But you know that very often, well, the VUCA situation can create in us either desperation, but also a lot of anger. Okay, initially, anger for what we have lost, anger for all our good plans, business plans that are totally ruined and that we just need to put in the on the table, and that's it. You know, so anger for the alternatives we saw and the possibilities that are no more there. Okay, so if you think about anger usually provokes in us a lot of energy. Okay, and very often you see it. You know, people start to raise their voice, becoming more physical, turning red. You know, all these kind of things. So try to imagine how to use that energy and convey it into something else. And the something else here could be conveying it into a propulsion power and act. Because you know what? When you go into action, you recover a sense of being in control, you know, and you get then a sense of control over the situation. But you know, obviously, VUCA and those unprecedented times do not generate only anger, they also generate fear, apprehension, anxiety, you know, worriedness, sometimes sadness, you know. And for those, I would suggest to use a model which is an approach from Martin Seligman. Martin Seligman is a father of positive psychology, and it came with this TIE model. And you know what it stands for? So, you know, let's start with the T of temporary. Very often we tend to believe that, when something is happening, that's going to be permanent. That's going to be forever. Okay. So the positive approach and the optimistic approach is to refocus and say, okay, it's going to be temporary. So how much time will it take, or it will stay this way? Okay, let's think about the COVID-19. I remember that for myself, when I started to hear that vaccines might be available, I thought, okay, here we can see the end of the tunnel. So I started to say, okay, how many months will it take before getting vaccinated, before having most of the population vaccinated? So that helped me to give a time frame, and that changed totally, my vision of it. Another thing is the eye of isolation. It means that it's not pervasive. It do not consider that it's impacting all the areas of your life at the same time, because very rarely this happens. Okay. So try to draw the boundaries, of this issue. Surely it does not impact all. So it means that there's a lot in your life that hasn't been impacted and that remains so safe, So, when you start doing this and say, okay, well, how is my personal life? Okay, this is not so bad. As is my, I would say, relationship. Okay, well, it's still good. Okay. Can I still practice sport, which is for me very important? So yes, I can still do that. So okay, how many things I can still do? Okay, so it's isolated. It's not ruining everything.
Okay.
The last point.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You had a
Yeah,
question.
it's here. It's the skill of isolating things. Actually, it's really what they call it. It's really very very hard for people to detach their old stories about we have this saying in the Middle East which says like if you were sting by a hot soup, if you have this burned by a hot soup, you may need to what they call it to huff or unpuff in the yogurt, you know when you get hit, when you get hurt, by hot soup, for instance, you may, in the next time when you eat yogurt, you may need to just blow it up to just reduce its temperature, and so that you don't get bit again. It's a sort of a proverb here in the Middle East. So in a way, isolating things for if we look at the essence of isolating events or isolating things out of each other is sometimes very hard, because we have some mental associations, I believe. Like leaders may associate some certain bad events or incidents in their businesses by things that may not be related, especially the old myth. There's a myth in the organization that when I bought an asset, the government made a scene and actually put its hand on it, for instance. This is something that can happen. Or maybe when I bought a car, it was hijacked on the road, so I will not buy cars again. I will outsource. I will always outsource to other companies, because I will not take on the security of my own fleet, for instance. This.
So you learn from experience. This is what you're saying.
Yeah, but sometimes this association, sometimes when you try to isolate things, you don't see your own myth that you created for yourself, that having your own fleet is dangerous, for instance. Or you create a belief here, like and how can leaders actually really isolate things without being attached to what they call it, what we call cognitive disorders, or unrelated things,
or
biases, or whatever.
Biases. I guess that probably what they could do is looking at, okay, what is due to COVID and what is not due to COVID. Okay, so what are the things that were working well before COVID and are still working? What are the things that were not working so well before COVID and got worse? Okay, so did we need some fixing before that we'd never worked on? Okay, that could be. Okay, regarding cognitive bias, you know, we all hear from our side, you know, sometimes of those small kind of sentences in the head. Oh, I'm not going to be able. No, that's not going to work. No, that do. We is simply too big, let's forget it, you know, those kind of things. Okay, so those are things that are limiting, those are auto-limiting kind of thoughts. So the first thing is to get, let's say, aware that we are saying those kind of things to ourselves and recognize that it's not helpful, and try to say, okay, instead of thinking about this, okay, what I can do is, okay, this hasn't worked in the past, right? We were not good at this. I acknowledge it. Okay, so if we don't want to work on this still, what to do in the
Okay.
future? Okay, so it's again be very pragmatic in a way, you know, and also accept with humbleness to recognize what was okay and what was not so okay. Okay, from the past. Okay, and so okay meaning this bringing success, not success.
Wow. So I believe that this recipe, you know, talking about, you know, the three
Mm-hmm.
main, you know, or you said in the beginning it's not a real recipe, but it's something like, you
No,
know,
it's not a. It's
it's
an
not.
approach. It's an
It's an
approach.
approach.
You know,
Yeah,
but we
it's
miss
an
one.
approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You still we still have something else to go.
Yeah, because we still have something else to do, because
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
at the end of the time approach does the E, and the E is for action.
Ah.
Okay,
Okay.
it's for effort. Okay,
Wow.
so
Okay.
and here again what is important is that very rarely there's nothing we can do, but we always take the chance of acting where we could act? Not always, because we feel
Mhm.
discouraged, because it looks too big, because it puts us out of our comfort zone. So let's take the opportunity of acting when we can, because
Sure.
again, that's going to fuel our energy. That's going to give us some positive, let's say, optimism to move on. Yeah.
There is always you know, this attachment with the old actions,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, this field of awkwardness when doing new actions that I was actually I was not used to doing, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how can leaders actually manage themselves in this, you know, in this new, you know, in this new era of yeah, I'm acting, but it feels awkward, it feels lonely, it feels nobody,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a benchmark on qualifying how
Mm-hmm.
good I'm doing this thing, but
Okay.
I'll still go and do it.
Okay. Well, to get more comfort, you're meaning around it.
Yeah.
To get more comfort, I would say share with people. Okay. I
Sure.
guess that share with people, I mean, social connection. Share with your team, talk
Wow.
about it, see. So instead of thinking on your own, engage people. Engage people, because you're going to get more creativity around you, potentially new ideas, new solutions that will pop up. Okay, and that will help you to see whether it's going to work, to launch new initiatives. So there's really something about connection, not stay on
Yeah.
your own. Okay, if you hear people talking about, you know, we've always been doing this way, so we're gonna, and we've been successful in the past, so why to change? Well,
Yeah.
I guess that as leaders, we can say to people, you know, let's look around us and let's look at what has changed so far.
I guess here there يعني what we have seen in the last period is actually
Mm-hmm.
lots of collaboration opportunities that happened even across the globe. Those who
Yes.
actually, yeah, who actually didn't, you know, you know, went to reach out and connect.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they did lots of growth, and I believe this cooperation wouldn't have happened if we didn't have
Yes,
COVID,
for
for
sure,
instance.
for
And
sure.
this is a very good example for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. The collaboration, the fact that, let's say, you know, COVID-19 has opened up everybody to be, everybody, all people who can, okay, to become more global, to
Yeah.
look for ways of connecting, sharing, talking through. Okay, and this is what has happened to us, as you're saying. Okay,
Mm.
it's just because we started to talk about things that, well, at the end, we decided to do that program together. And I guess that you're right. If you stay just on your own without sharing, okay, you're going to be very limited. Okay, because you're
Mm.
going to see just what is just there. You know, if
Yes.
you connect and share, okay, but also share your vulnerability, not pretend to have everything is going well all the time, because that's not true. Okay, and when you
Yes.
share vulnerability, you create connection, and you create as well willingness to help. So
Yes. Thank you, Christine. It's the 30 minutes have passed flew like this, and I don't see. I mean, I didn't actually look at the time just now. So just to brief, like in a very nutshell for today's episode, about navigating VUCA and EI, what could you
yeah,
tell, like like the top, outcomes for those who are listening
well,
to us?
okay, so I would say be tactical, look at the opportunity behind the threat. Take the opportunity to get your organization growing new skills, celebrate achievements, celebrate steps, because that's going to fuel your energy, your optimism, and the one of your team. And I would say connect with people, share. Find ways of getting, let's say, contaminated by ideas rather than by a virus. Okay. And I would say try to look at what you have, being grateful
Wow.
for what you have.
Yeah, and actually, this model, the Thai model that you brought, the Martin Seligman, is actually a very, for me, it is an eye opener. It's really, it's how, and actually,
Yeah.
despite it being very simple and very abstract when it's
Mm,
explained. I know it needs a lot of inner work for leaders to
mm,
actually really be able
yeah.
to do these three steps.
Yeah.
So, in a brief, would you like, Christine, to maybe explain how you support leaders, to step into this zone and work with VUCA and work with emotional intelligence? Can
Yeah,
you
for
talk
sure.
more about?
So,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
let's say that there are usually two kind of approaches. One, it can be individual coaching with them. Okay, working exactly on this. So, okay, how do we work on your own stress level? How do we learn on being more agile? Okay, mentally wise. Another thing is working with teams as well, and working with teams meaning team coaching, helping a team so to reach an objective, but using a certain approach and methodology which is around emotional intelligence. So that would be the way. But again, yeah, everything is very much customized. So being an ICF certified coach, I have a methodology like you. Okay, you have yours, but each time then we adapt to the context.
Yeah. Thank you, Christine. It has been an amazing discussion today and amazing morning.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
really, I really want to thank you for this opportunity and for sharing all this wisdom and knowledge and the deliberate
Yeah.
preparation that you're doing. Thank you for that. For
Thank you, Sharaf, and that was great for me as well. So your questions were great, and I guess that has helped me as well very much to find back, from my experience, but thoughts, etc. What we could give to the people listening to us. So I'm very grateful for this. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So our next episode will be on November 11th, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's about emotional intelligence and relationships. It's the
yeah,
same time,
exactly.
yeah. So for those who are listening to us, our next episode is on November 11th.
Excellent.
Yeah, okay.
Bye bye to
Bye
all, and thanks for
bye. Bye.
listening to us.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, November. Okay. So, thank you. Okay, here we go. And actually, we have a comment here, just one comment.
Hmm.
It's from Mayi Basal. Thank you so
Hmm.
much. It's an acknowledgement.
Okay.
It's coming in. Okay, coming in from
Okay.
Facebook Live. Thank you, May. Mayuya Basal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maya.
Okay. Okay. Bye bye.